In 2347, humanity had established itself as a formidable presence in the galaxy. Known for their courage, ingenuity, and fierce determination, humans had forged alliances with several alien civilizations, becoming key players in interstellar politics. However, not all was well. The council chambers of the Galactic Federation buzzed with tension as representatives from various species debated the looming threat of a warlord named Korath, who sought to expand his dominion by conquering peaceful worlds. Surgeon Ethan Hayes sat in the back of the chamber, arms crossed and face set in a grim expression. He had seen too much. After years of fighting in countless skirmishes across the stars, he had grown weary of the violence that defined his existence. The scars on his body were a testament to his experiences, but the deeper scars, those of lost comrades and shattered lives, were invisible. As the discussions raged on, he wondered if he could truly make a difference in yet another conflict. The council members finally turned their attention to him. The holographic projection displayed the lush landscape of Solara, an alien world known for its tranquility and peace-loving inhabitants. Ethan felt a knot tighten in his stomach as the council leader, a dignified alien with iridescent skin and keen eyes, spoke directly to him. Sergeant Hayes, the leader began, "Your record speaks for itself. We require your expertise. Solara is on the brink of invasion, and the inhabitants are unprepared for war. We believe your experience can inspire their defenders." Ethan's heart sank. The thought of leading a group of soldiers into yet another battle filled him with dread. He had spent years in combat training, yet the prospect of teaching others, especially a peaceful species, how to fight felt wrong. "Respectfully, he started, but the council leader raised a hand, silencing him. "We understand your hesitance, Sergeant, but this is not just about military might. It is about safeguarding a world that embodies peace and understanding. The Celerans are counting on us. They need a leader, not just a soldier." The weight of the moment pressed down on him. He thought of the Celerans, tall, graceful beings with luminescent skin, who had never known the brutality of war. How could he instill the will to fight in a culture that valued harmony? Would they even accept his help? Ethan's thoughts were interrupted as he glanced at the holographic projection of Solara again. Its sprawling forests and tranquil oceans stood in stark contrast to the chaos of battle he had grown accustomed to. As the council continued to discuss strategy, he couldn't help but feel a flicker of hope. Perhaps this mission could be different. Perhaps he could protect something beautiful rather than destroy. With a resigned sigh, Ethan straightened his posture. He could not ignore the urgency of the situation. If he refused, countless lives would be at risk. He had spent too long avoiding responsibility. It was time to face the challenge head-on, even if it meant stepping outside his comfort zone. "I'll do it," he finally declared, his voice steady despite the turmoil within. "I will lead the mission to Solara." A wave of relief washed over the council. As they began outlining the details, Ethan felt the familiar spark of duty ignite within him. This was not just about combat. It was about forging connections, protecting lives, and perhaps, in the process, rediscovering his own purpose. With a new determination, he prepared to embark on the journey that would change everything, for him and for the inhabitants of Solara. Ethan's ship glided through the vibrant atmosphere of Solara, a swirling tapestry of colors that mesmerized him as they descended. Unlike the desolate battlefields he was accustomed to, Solara's surface was a feast for the eyes. Emerald green forests stretched out like a vast carpet, dotted with iridescent flowers that seemed to pulse with life. The oceans shimmered with hues of blue and turquoise, reflecting the sunlight in a dance of colors that promised peace and tranquility. As the landing gear touched down, Ethan felt a mix of anticipation and anxiety. He had spent countless hours preparing for this moment, but nothing could fully prepare him for the sight of Solara's inhabitants. A delegation awaited him at the landing site, their tall, slender forms adorned with flowing garments that glimmered in the light. Their skin shimmered like opals, shifting colors in response to their emotions. Talaris, the leader of the Celerans, stepped forward, radiating a sense of calm confidence. "Welcome, Earthling," Talaris greeted, their voice melodic and soothing. "We have heard much about you. Your reputation precedes you." Ethan nodded, humbled by the warm reception but acutely aware of the heavy responsibility resting on his shoulders. "Thank you, Talaris. I'm here to help. I understand your people are facing a dire threat." "Indeed," Talaris replied, their luminous eyes reflecting a blend of worry and determination. "But we are a peaceful people. We have never engaged in violence, and it is hard for us to fathom the necessity of it now." The weight of those words settled heavily on Ethan. He had witnessed the horrors of war and understood that the Celerans, in their pursuit of peace, had likely cultivated a vulnerability. "I understand," he said, choosing his words carefully. "But sometimes, defending your way of life requires more than just hope. You must be prepared to protect what you love." As they walked toward the Celeran city, Ethan absorbed the beauty around him. The architecture was organic, blending seamlessly with nature. Buildings resembled towering trees, their branches woven together, creating spaces that felt alive. Yet beneath the beauty, he sensed an underlying tension among the Celerans. Many cast nervous glances toward the horizon, where dark storm clouds loomed, a harbinger of Karath's impending attack. In the days that followed, Ethan began to train the Celerans in basic combat techniques, but the initial sessions were met with hesitance. He demonstrated defensive maneuvers and evasive tactics, but the Celerans struggled to connect the concepts with their nonviolent philosophy. Their reluctance was palpable, and Ethan found himself frustrated at times, feeling as if he were trying to teach a language they had never known. Yet he refused to give up. Ethan adjusted his approach, weaving stories of human resilience and bravery into the training. He shared tales of how ordinary individuals had banded together in the face of insurmountable odds, illustrating that strength didn't always have to be synonymous with violence. Slowly, the Celerans began to open up, their faces lighting up with understanding as they started to see the value in self-defense. One day, during a training session, a young Celeran named Lyra approached Ethan with a mixture of curiosity and fear. "Do you truly believe we can defend our home?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. Ethan knelt to her level, meeting her gaze with sincerity. "I believe that everyone has the right to protect what they love, Lyra. It may be unfamiliar to you, but that doesn't mean you can't learn. Together, we can create a future where your home remains safe." Her eyes sparkled with determination, and Ethan felt a flicker of hope ignite within him. Perhaps he was beginning to reach them after all. As they trained under the radiant Celeran sun, he could sense a growing resolve among the inhabitants, a desire to stand firm against the encroaching darkness. The battle for Solara was just beginning, and for the first time, Ethan felt that they might truly be ready to fight for their future. Just as Ethan began to feel a sense of hope and unity among the Celerans, the tranquility of Solara was shattered by the distant rumble of engines. The warning alarm sounded, echoing through the vibrant city like a siren call to action. Talaris summoned the inhabitants to the central plaza, where Ethan stood at the forefront, ready to lead. The air was charged with tension as fear washed over the crowd, their luminescent skin flickering with anxiety. "What do we do?" Lyra asked, her voice barely above a whisper as she gripped Ethan's arm. Ethan met her gaze, drawing strength from her courage. "We prepare to defend our home," he replied, his voice steady despite the tumult inside him. He gestured for the Celerans to gather around, hardened by their resolve to stand together. "This is what we've been training for, trust in yourselves and each other." As the Celerans gathered, Talaris's voice rang out, a calming presence amid the chaos. "We are not warriors, but we are protectors of our world. We must stand together against this threat." The atmosphere shifted from fear to determination as the Celerans readied themselves, recalling the training sessions with Ethan. He quickly organized the groups, assigning roles based on their strengths. Some would assist in evacuation efforts, guiding the elderly and young away from danger. Others were tasked with strategic positions, where they could use the terrain to their advantage. Ethan felt the urgency of the moment settle deep within him, pushing him to the forefront. Suddenly, the dark shapes of Korath's ships pierced the clouds, emerging like ominous harbingers of doom. The warlord's fleet was vast, a menacing assembly of jagged vessels that seemed to blot out the sun. Panic rippled through the crowd, but Ethan stood firm, his heart racing. "Remember your training. Hold your ground." The first attack came swiftly. A barrage of energy blasts illuminated the sky, striking the outskirts of the city. The ground shook beneath them as explosions erupted, sending clouds of dust and debris into the air. Ethan's instincts kicked in, and he shouted orders, directing the Celerans to strategic locations they had practiced. He rushed to a vantage point, scanning the horizon for any sign of Korath's ground forces. As the dust settled, the warlord soldiers emerged, clad in dark armor that reflected a twisted version of Celera's beauty. They surged forward, armed and ready to lay claim to the world that had resisted them for far too long. A knot of dread twisted in Ethan's gut. He was here to protect these people, but the reality of battle loomed over him like a dark cloud. "Now, Celerans," he called out, raising his weapon as the first wave of enemies approached. "Stand your ground. Remember the strength we have forged together." The Celerans rallied, their faces set with fierce determination. The sound of energy blasts filled the air as they returned fire, their newly acquired skills shining through. Ethan fought alongside them, directing the defense with precision. The Celerans displayed remarkable agility, darting around the battlefield, their luminescent bodies becoming beacons of resilience. In the midst of the chaos, Ethan spotted a group of Celeran defenders pinned down by a relentless enemy squad. Heart-pounding, he maneuvered through the fray, taking out one enemy after another. He reached the Celerans just in time, rallying them to push back against their attackers. "We are stronger together," he shouted, encouraging them to fight as one. As the battle raged on, Ethan witnessed the transformation of the Celerans. Their fears melted away, replaced by a fierce will to protect their home. They were not just passive beings anymore. They had embraced their roles as defenders of Celera. With each surge, the tide of battle shifted, but the overwhelming force of Korath's army still loomed large. Amidst the chaos, Ethan's resolve solidified. They would fight for their world, their future, and each other. The true challenge had just begun, and he was determined to lead them through the storm. As the battle raged on, Ethan and the Celerans pushed back against Korath's relentless forces, but the odds were stacked against them. For every enemy they felled, two more seemed to take their place, an unyielding tide of darkness, threatening to overwhelm the vibrant world they fought to protect. Exhaustion settled in, but Ethan refused to let despair creep into his heart. They needed a plan, something bold that would turn the tide in their favor. Retreating to the command center, established in the heart of Celera's lush forests, Ethan gathered his team of Celeran leaders and human soldiers. Talaris, looking resolute despite the chaos outside, stood beside him. The holographic map of the battlefield flickered before them, showing the positions of Korath's forces as they advanced. "We can't keep fighting this way," Ethan began, his voice firm. "We need to strike at the heart of Korath's operation. If we can disrupt his supply lines and communication, we can level the playing field." The Celerans exchanged glances, uncertainty lingering in the air. Talaris took a step forward, their opalescent skin shimmering with determination. "But how? We've never engaged in warfare. Our people have always chosen peace." Ethan nodded, understanding their hesitation. "I know this is hard, but I believe you can adapt. You've shown courage on the battlefield, and that's only the beginning. You have strengths I've come to respect. Let's combine our tactics and skills." "What if we fail?" Lyra asked, her voice trembling with anxiety. "What if we lose everything?" Ethan met her gaze, feeling the weight of her fear. "We will not lose. We have already fought too hard for this world. Trust in yourselves and in each other. I will stand with you." The Celerans began to nod, the flicker of hope reigniting in their eyes. The sense of purpose that had been building within them transformed into determination. They began strategizing, blending human combat techniques with Celeran agility. Each member contributed ideas, and for the first time, they forged a plan that felt both ambitious and achievable. Under the cover of night, Ethan led a small, diverse group of Celerans and human soldiers toward the enemy's supply depot, a facility nestled in a heavily wooded area on the outskirts of the city. Stealth was their ally as they moved through the shadows, the sound of distant explosions serving as a grim reminder of what was at stake. When they reached the depot, Ethan's heart raced with adrenaline. "We'll split into 2 teams," he instructed, one to create a distraction while the other sabotages the supply lines. We strike hard and fast. The plan set into motion. Ethan's team created a diversion, drawing enemy attention away from their true objective. The Celerans, equipped with their newfound confidence, moved with purpose and grace. They darted through the trees, their vibrant skin blending with the night. As Ethan and the Celerans infiltrated the depot, they encountered a group of enemy soldiers, but the Celerans fought valiantly, harnessing their agility to outmaneuver the opposition. With Ethan's guidance, they worked together seamlessly, striking with precision and surprising the enemy with their newfound courage. The sabotage went off without a hitch, explosions lighting up the night sky as the supply lines erupted in flames. The sound of destruction echoed, sending shockwaves through Korath's ranks. As the chaos unfolded, Ethan and his team retreated, hearts racing with exhilaration. Back at the Celeran Command Center, the sense of triumph was palpable. They had turned the tide, and for the first time, they felt the strength of their collective efforts. With newfound confidence, Ethan knew they could face whatever Korath threw their way. They were no longer just defenders. They were warriors ready to protect their home, their people, and their future. The true battle had just begun, but they were united, and that was their greatest strength. The echoes of the previous night's battle still rang in Ethan's ears as he emerged from the makeshift command center, the morning sun casting a golden hue across the landscape of Solara. The devastation of Korath's supply depot had sent shockwaves through his forces, but the threat was far from over. Ethan could feel the tension in the air. The warlord would not take their defiance lightly. However, the morale among the Celerans had shifted dramatically. They were no longer just a peaceful civilization caught in the crossfire. They had become fierce protectors of their home. As dawn broke over Solara, Talaris and Lyra stood by Ethan, their expressions a mix of determination and anticipation. "What now?" Lyra asked, her voice steady. "Korath will retaliate. We need to be prepared." "We will fortify our defenses," Ethan replied, scanning the horizon. "But we must also continue to strike at the heart of his operation. We've shown we can disrupt his forces. Now we need to capitalize on that advantage. We can't let fear dictate our actions." Talaris nodded, their luminous skin shimmering with newfound resolve. "We have trained together, and we will fight together. Our people deserve to live in peace, and we will not back down." In the following days, the Celerans threw themselves into preparation. The fields that had once been filled with crops were transformed into training grounds, where Ethan led them in drills and strategy sessions. They honed their skills, combining human combat techniques with Celeran agility and cunning. Ethan marveled at their rapid progress. Their determination was contagious, igniting a spark of hope in his heart. Meanwhile, Ethan began to forge alliances with nearby planets sympathetic to their cause. Through the Galactic Federation's network, he reached out to old comrades, seeking support in the fight against Korath. As word of Solara's resistance spread, volunteers from various worlds began to arrive, ready to lend their strength. With every new ally, Ethan felt the tide of the conflict turning further in their favor. However, Korath was not idle. As the days passed, the warlord gathered his forces, preparing for a full-scale invasion. Ethan knew they had to act quickly. He formulated a bold plan, a preemptive strike aimed directly at Korath's command ship, the heart of his operations. On the day of the operation, the skies darkened as Ethan, Talaris, and a united force of Celarans and their allies set out for the warlord's flagship. The tension was palpable as they approached, but there was a sense of camaraderie among them, each person united by a common goal. As they neared the command ship, a fierce battle erupted. Energy blasts filled the air, and the Celarans fought valiantly alongside their human allies, their spirits unyielding. Ethan led the charge, pushing through the ranks of Korath's forces with determination. The Celarans had transformed into fierce warriors, their previously timid spirits now ablaze with courage. Finally, they breached the ship's inner sanctum, where Korath awaited them, a menacing figure adorned in dark armor. "You think you can defy me?" he sneered, a chilling smile crossing his face. "You are nothing but insects." Ethan stepped forward, unwavering. "We are not insects. We are defenders of Solara, and we will not allow you to destroy what we hold dear." The ensuing battle was fierce, but the combined strength of Ethan's forces proved overwhelming. The Celarans fought with a ferocity that surprised even themselves, their training and determination paying off. With a final surge, Ethan and his allies cornered Korath, forcing him to surrender. As dawn broke over the horizon, the once ominous command ship lay in ruins, a testament to their victory. The Celarans, exhausted but elated, gathered in the aftermath, their luminous skin shimmering brightly against the rising sun. In that moment, Ethan felt a profound sense of gratitude and fulfillment. They had not just defended Solara, they had transformed into something greater, a community bound by resilience and courage. The warlord's defeat marked a new chapter for Solara, one where peace and strength could coexist. As the sun bathed Solara in its warm glow, Ethan knew this was just the beginning. The future was bright, and together, they would forge a new destiny, one built on unity, courage, and an unbreakable spirit. The reluctant defender had found his place among the stars, not just as a soldier, but as a protector and friend,